Alright, so today we're going to tackle the top 5 questions I get about my no buy year. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the 5 most common questions I get about my no buy year from coworkers, family, friends, when I'm out on dates. I seem to get the same questions over and over again, so I figured it might be a fun thing to tackle today with all of y'all. In case you had some of these same questions yourself, or if you haven't been following along about my no buy year, it could be a good peek into the psychology of why I do what I do and why I went on this journey in the first place. Alright, so a high-level overview of my no buy year. I can't buy anything that isn't essential to my survival or to replace something that's completely broken or needs to be replaced for the entirety of 2019. So I can buy food, medicine, gifts for others, and charitable contributions during the course of the year, but I can't buy anything because I want it or because it's cool. It has to be something that contributes to my survival, my well-being, or I can justify under the rules of my no buy year. So that being said, let's get directly into the FAQs. Alright, so the number one question I get over and over again for my no buy year is, why did you do it? Well, truth be told, about a year ago I broke up with my long-term boyfriend and I am a homeowner. So after he left, I had an empty house full of junk and a very high mortgage payment. Yes, I wish I had some sexy answer about me being on a path to minimalism as part of a spiritual quest and something like that. But the truth is that I had a lot of junk and it was stressing me out. Frequently, I was just frustrated with my living space. I couldn't find things when I needed them. And then on top of that, after he moved out, I had a very expensive mortgage payment and I was basically paying a premium to house my junk. Yeah. So I made the decision last year around Christmas time to clear out the spare bedroom and rent it out on Airbnb. I already did the other bedroom because I own a 3-bedroom home. I already did the other bedroom for Airbnb, but combined I knew that I could bring in a lot more money if I did 2 bedrooms instead of 1. And plus, since I was newly single, it would be nice to have more people at the house just to make me feel safer. And really, I looked in that spare bedroom and realized that my stuff was holding me back. And I was making regular trips to the thrift store and donating as much as I could, cultivating and purging as much as I could, but I started to realize that my acquisition became part of a cycle, that I would get rid of things, but I would acquire new things just as fast as they were going out the door, and I never really felt like I was getting a handle on the stuff in my life. So with that in mind, I decided to do a no buy year and simply take a step back from the hedonistic treadmill I had been on of just going on Amazon, going to Target, shopping, going on sales, Black Friday, and just relax a little bit and just see where life would take me without constantly acquiring things. And it was kind of an experiment, and so far, so good. Alright, so the second most common question I get is, what was your biggest worry before starting? I have to say, my biggest worry before starting my no buy year was essentially that I would look like a ragamuffin and people would notice that I was wearing the same clothes over and over again and it would be embarrassing and shameful. Really, I kind of thought that people would notice that I only had a couple pairs of shoes or a couple shirts, and since I came from kind of humble beginnings, I didn't want people to think I was less than. But truth be told, nobody's really noticed. And in fact, the people who have noticed was only because I told them that I was doing a no buy year. And they all unequivocally signed up to cheer for me on the sidelines, which is amazing. I was worried a little bit about what it would be like to just keep recycling the same clothes over and over again for dates. But you know what? Most of the guys I went on dates with never made it past the second date anyway. So I wasn't really worried about, having my tried and trues getting a little bit too much wear and tear. I will say I've had just a few items I've had to retire because they ripped or they just weren't fitting or they looked really, really ragged at some point. But overall, my wardrobe has been quite functional over the course of a year and nobody's really noticed that I wear the same things over and over again. If they have, sometimes I just say that I go for that minimalist look, like that Steve Jobs aesthetic. But other than that, most people are in their own heads and they don't really care what you wear. Truly. Alright, so the third most common question I get about my no buy year is, how do you resist temptation? Well, number one, I just don't go to stores. Let's be real. I unsubscribed to all the marketing emails I could at the beginning of the year, and I simply just don't go to Target unless it's essential. If I do need to go to the store, I make sure I have a list, like if I'm shopping for someone's wedding registry or their baby shower, and I go in for that one specific thing. I typically don't make it a point to go to the places that used to really trigger me, like, Crate and Barrel and Target and, places like that. I just try not to go to those places if I can help it. And I found that was really helpful. I will say though that Instagram has been the one place I haven't been able to hide from, and man, those marketing emails, if you've seen my other videos, they're really good at getting me to be tempted, but I also keep a running list of things that really tempt me every single month, and I put it on Instagram at the end of the month as part of my recap. And I find that just, documenting the temptations I have throughout the month releases me from the need to act on them so quickly, because I know that most of these things will be here after the end of my no buy year. I don't have to acquire them right now. I can put them in my little monthly Instagram carousel recap, and it takes the pressure off me to consume it immediately. So if I resist temptation, it's simply because I avoid the stores that typically get me to overspend. I go there with intention when I do need to go there. And finally, anything that just really gets under my skin, I put it on Instagram and let it go until the end of my no buy year. All right, fourth question. What is the hardest part of my no buy year? Looking back over the last 11 or so months, because I am recording this video in November of my no buy year, I would have to say the hardest part was the beginning of the year. I didn't realize how much I used shopping as a crutch. I used it when I was happy. I used it when I was sad. I used it to celebrate the fact that I just, got a pay raise. I used it to feel like an independent badass, like I can afford this. I deserve this. Shopping for me served a lot of purposes. And when I let that go and decided to not partake in just that automatic triggered reflex of shopping whenever I was good, bad, or indifferent, it really kind of caused me to take pause. Also, if I'm being real, at the beginning of this year, I was kind of in a slump. I had just gone through a pretty significant breakup. I did a large declutter of all the stuff in my house, and for those of you who've been watching my channel, I donated a kidney at the beginning of this year, and I couldn't really tell anybody about a lot of these things because I thought I had it under control. I didn't want anyone to worry about me, and especially with the kidney donation, I didn't want to tell my family and friends until I had a surgery date scheduled and the Mayo Clinic was all on board with all the information I had that I could share with them as soon as they had questions. So largely, I took that journey to donate a kidney on my own. Looking back, I might have done it differently, but it is what it is. And honestly, I would have said that typical me without this no buy year, I would have dealt with a lot of that stress at the store. I would have gotten Amazon packages on my porch. I would have shopped at Zulily. I would have gone to J. Crew and, tried to make myself feel better with a new outfit. Yeah, I would have done all of those things. And this year I lost my crutch. And the first couple months, I'm being completely real, was a hard adjustment to that. But how I got through that was I started working out, which was awesome. And it also led to me losing weight, which meant my pants didn't fit, but that's another bullet point for later. I reached out to my friends a lot more than I used to, made phone calls over the weekend just to connect with people. I went to a lot of meetups this year, and I also signed up to volunteer. So it took a bit of an adjustment period, if I'm being completely honest and transparent about this process, but I had to let go of the habit and replace it with something else. And for a couple months, as I started to adjust and really examine my own psychology, it kind of sucked a little bit at the beginning, but I have to say in November, it really doesn't bother me anymore, and it's taken some time, but my life is so much richer now, if I can be completely honest about that. But the first couple months were hard, and you can see that in some of my other videos on minimalism and depression and some of the others I did earlier in this year round. I want to say like March, April timeframe. And also I was dating, and that was kind of a slog, but anyway, long story long, that was probably the hardest part of my no buy year. All right, next most common question I get is how much money have you saved? Yes, people want to know, because I do actually do a tally at the end of every single month on that Instagram carousel I mentioned. I include all of the photos of the things that I liked, but then I add up the value of what they would have been. I typically don't include tax and shipping because I'm lazy, but it's a general idea of what I would have spent. I don't think it's a perfect representation of what I would have spent because simply, as I stated before, I'm not going to Target as much as I used to, and that used to be a big place where I would drop a paycheck. So it's hard to know what I truly would have spent had I been going about life in my normal way of doing things, but I do add up my total every month from my Instagram carousels that I share at the end of my recap, and this year I saved $2,924.07. But if you watched my September recap, you know that I made an oopsie, which really sucks to share, but one of my subscription boxes renewed and I didn't catch it, and it went on my credit card, and that was my flub, so you can watch the September recap for that doozy. But after that $400-ish purchase, happened, I saved $2,572.72, which is not too shabby. I'm using that money to put towards my retirement and, build up my emergency fund. So that's been great. And like I said, it may not be a perfect representation of what I truly would have spent simply because I've had to change my habits from the get-go. But $2,500, I'm really excited about. And also I'm kind of excited of the fact that my home is less cluttered, so I'm not sad about that either. All right, so the final question I get the most often is, are you gonna go nuts when it's all over? People wanna know if I'm gonna go absolutely hog wild in January, and I have to say I don't think that will be the case. I already have a list of all the things I want to buy, which will be included in another video, but I have to say, so far I've kicked the habit and I feel a lot better, and with a few intentional purchases I'll make, I think I'll go forward with that, but I'm not anticipating that I'm just gonna lose my mind and relapse at the beginning of January, so it is what it is. Alright guys, that'll do it for the 5 most common questions I get for my no-buy year. I hope it was insightful. And yeah, until the next video, stay beautiful, stay sparked, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.